Alrighty, everybody. Good morning. Happy Monday, start of another week. Happy November. We are here for the Astro-Babble, where we are going to take 5 charts donated by you, the lovely followers, and we are going to read them live, cold, with no preparation. Super fun. We're going to talk about what the signs mean, what the planets mean, and all that jazz in between. If you would like to donate your chart to the live streams, feel free to private message me your birth date, birthplace, and exact birth time. I will add you to the list. The patience is required because the list is somewhat long, but I will get to your name as soon as I can. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, I am a professional astrologer, so if you would like to book a consult or take some online classes, you can always visit my website at scorpiorisingastrology.com. Okay, enough about me. Let's go ahead and let's pull up these charts, shall we? We've got 5. And for those of you joining Facebook, thank you. For those of you joining on Instagram, just so you know, the charts will be visible on the YouTube replay because they won't let me screen share on Instagram. But let's take a look at Raina's chart. Raina's chart. I think I'm pronouncing your name right. Forgive me if I'm not. Okay, so we've got Leo rising, Mars and Leo in the first. That's fun. Ruler of the chart is Sun and Scorpio in the fourth, co-present with Uranus and Venus. And an Aquarius moon in the seventh. Jupiter in Virgo, Saturn Virgo in the second. I'll take it. Okay. So when we look at a Leo ascendant is what gives you that fiery, fixed, dramatic, but also really compassionate energy. You know, there's a reason why Leo comes after Cancer in the zodiacal lineup. It does have that heart, just like Cancer does. It's just a little bit more fiery. Leo does tend to be the showboater, the one who's constantly claiming the attention, but has the right to claim that attention. I personally think they walk into a room and they literally are ruled by the sun. They have that radiance, that glitz, that glam, that wow factor. There's also that eye for talent that Leo possesses. So having your ascendant in Leo gives you all of those characteristics. And then some, because we have Mars, the planet, the fiery planet, the red planet of will and action and that warrior energy coming up on top. So we've got that double kind of fire that's in the first house. Also that mutual reception between Mars and the Sun. So the Sun is in Scorpio and Mars is in Leo. So Mars is in the Sun sign and the Sun is in Mars's sign. That's what we call a mutual reception when planets trade signs, and it basically strengthens their bond. Not that you need that bond to be strengthened, because the ruler of your chart is the Sun in the fourth house already. So there's a very strong pull into the fourth house of family. And partially because the Sun is there, another partial because Mars and Sun are in mutual reception. Now, the issue here is Leo and Scorpio naturally don't get along. They don't get along naturally. Leo wants to be bright and radiant and solar, and Scorpio wants to be withdrawn and inward and kind of cloistered away. And so that need to be the center of attention versus that need to kind of retreat into one's home environment, that's energy that kind of needs to be teased out and balanced a little bit. Now there's another kind of issue here in your chart, my dear, because we have Uranus conjoined Venus and Scorpio, and Mercury in Scorpio as well. There's just so much that we could talk about with this. Uranus is the planet of unpredictability. Venus is in her fall in Scorpio. She is the exiled queen. And then Mercury, the planet of the mind in Scorpio, that deep, dark underworld energy. It is a mind that is full of catacombs and secrets. It's kind of like a mind that comes with a built-in haunted house, right? It's kind of like if Haunting of Hill House and Blythe Manor were just a program that kind of built into your head, which can make it super interesting mentally, but can also make it a little bit difficult. And all of these energies are playing in the fourth house of family, which flavors the context of family for you. And honestly, it's not necessarily a super great flavor. It's haunted in a way. And so we would need to maybe do some bloodline remediation in your chart. We would need to honor the ancestors, We would very much need to heal the wounds of the family, and also understand that you are not a victim to your family's, to your upbringing, to your family's roots. You know, if those roots are rotted, then all you got to do is dig them up and plant something new, darling. That's it. But you do have to respect and honor the idea that the ground is tainted. You know, so that's part of the dynamic that we're looking at. And you've got that really strong Mars and that really beautifully bright Leo ascendant, and I think that that's the energy that you need to kind of expose and brighten up that darkness. So I'm all for it. I think you've got the tools. We just need to really get to work, kind of healing the soil, you know, as it was. That moon in Aquarius at 0 degrees in the 7th is an interesting choice. Partially because it's ruled by Saturn in Virgo in the 2nd. It means that your finances are going to be a huge, huge topic in your relationships, and relationships may become financially dependent, and or you may have a big chunk of your relationships that are financial in nature. So that's, you're not just marrying the person, you're also marrying their money, and their potential financial debt and their spending habits and all that. But having a moon in Aquarius in the 7th, you know, it does, one of the things that you'll probably notice about spouses that you choose is they tend to be a little bit quirky, and they also tend to be a little bit emotionally distant, right? Because Aquarius is that fixed air energy. It likes to be above it all. It likes to not necessarily participate in the affairs of the human world, and relationships are a very human experience. So that can be something that you need to work on, kind of balancing the fixed signs, because you got Leo on the ascendant, Scorpio in the 4th, and then Aquarius in the 7th. Like, all of your major relationships have this kind of fixed, stubborn, Kleffic, slightly stagnant energy that needs to be broken up. There's a lot of activity in your second house of finance, actually. And although Jupiter, Lord of abundance and prosperity, is here, he is in the sign of his fall in Virgo. So that's not necessarily great placement, but you make up for it because you've got Saturn in Virgo here. Saturn in the mutable Earth sign is something that I love to see in the second house of finance. As you hit your first and second Saturn return around 30 and then again around 60, money will become an easier and easier topic for you. But money is also tied into the family dynamic. So it seems like, again, money and relationships are two of the big things in your life that you're going to need to remediate, need to focus on, need to understand the importance of those things, because they're heavy topics. And if you're trying to succeed in life, if you're trying to get a job, if you're trying to find your life's purpose, but your finances are in disarray and your relationships are crap, that's not going to work. You know, you're not going to be able to touch success because you constantly feel like you're being weighed down. And that's something that you can work with. That's something that is totally workable. In your chart, you just need to pay attention and pay respect to the planets and the energies that are really kind of crossed in that space. Yep, I think that's all we can get into in this chart particularly. So we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much, my dear, for donating your chart to the live stream. I appreciate it. Let's do a quick zap into comments, see if anybody's commenting. Hello, Yvonne. Hello, Matthew. This is Raina's chart. Can you not see the chart? Let me know if you can see the chart. So this is our second chart. If you cannot see the chart, please let me know. Comment now. Comment now if you cannot see the chart, because that's important. I need to make sure that everybody can see the stuff, because screen share is supposedly on, but if screen share isn't working, then I need to know that. We can also hear me. Okay, just checking in, making sure that we good on the channel. So definitely let me know if you can't hear me or if you can't see me. Livestream seems to be picking up my face okay, but if you can't see the chart, let me know. Let me know, because that's important. Okay. We'll continue on. Emily is our next chart in the live stream. Let's take a peek at Emily's chart. So we've got a nice Taurus ascendant, Venus and Libra in the 6th. Brava, brava, fabulous. And then Jupiter up in the 11th, great social placements, and exalted Mars, kicking it off strong, strong on this chart. I love it, Emily. Absolutely adore it, darling. Oh, there's the kicker. Pluto and Scorpio in the 7th. And then Sun and Leo in the 4th. Kind of carry over from the last chart. Okay. So Taurus on the ascendant gives you that really nice fixed earth energy. Makes you super dependable, makes you super grounded, really makes you the friend that everybody goes to for support. It's a fantastic placement. When we look at just the qualities of Taurus, it kind of makes you a little bit more normal, a little bit more into your rituals, your daily habits, your routines. But that can be really grounding and very nice, especially when some people just tend to thrive in chaos, right? Taurus is the exact opposite. Like, don't waste your energy doing stuff that's stupid, Taurus would say, lovingly. So we have this Taurus ascendant, but what makes this Taurus ascendant so glorious is the ruler of the chart. The ruler of the chart is Our Lady Venus, who is perpetually lovely in the 6th house of work, health, and pets, and she is in her home sign of Libra. Fabulous. Mwah. Chef's kiss. So when we look at Goddess of Love in the sign of the Peacekeeper in the 6th house of work, this could take many different forms and shapes. The first of which could be studying in the legal field or law enforcement. It could also make you a really great counselor or somebody who helps other people to keep the peace within themselves. You also have your moon here, which makes your emotional state very clingy to your work dynamic. It also would make you a really great nurse because this is technically a health house. Yeah. But having the moon in the 6th house really does mean that you're so emotionally invested in what you do for a living, you almost overly emotionally identify with your job. But if you ever need to kind of shake the etch-a-sketch of your life, go throw yourself into your work. That's going to be the best thing for you. Now we do have Neptune in Capricorn retrograde making a... Oh, well, it's a separating square. That's fine. That's better than what I thought it was. But it is a square, nonetheless. But she does get a supportive sextile from Saturn. Okay, that's fine. I thought it was going to be something not so great, but it's all right. You've got blessings there. That's fine. Oh, and then the Sun trine from the 4th. Some very unexpected family support. That's interesting. Sun and Leo in the 4th. It wouldn't surprise me if your parents were cops, because Leo, again, when we think of Leos, like that's a nickname for a cop. So that's kind of taking liberal interpretation with astrology in a very fun way. But again, Sun in Leo in the 4th. It's the Sun in his home sign of Leo, which is a really great place. It brings this light, it brings this radiance into the family dynamic. It also brings a crap load of loyalty. And that Sun is making a trine to Uranus and Sagittarius in the 8th, which brings unexpected inheritance, which could be literal kind of family business stuff. It could be money. It could be many, many different things. But there is also that unexpected energy, which could, if channeled in appropriately, bring just very interesting things, which at the end of the day strengthen the family dynamic. But unpredictability, like as an example, like if mom or dad were a cop, then they would on duty get shot in the hip, because Sagittarius is the sign of the hips, and the 8th house is the house of death, and Uranus is the planet of unpredictability. But because there is a trine forming between those two planets, parent walks away with a really great pension and is able to financially kind of help out with house stuff. So that's one of the fun things about astrology, is interpretation is really nuanced and can mean many, many different things when we look at a natal chart. as opposed to when we're looking at an electional chart or a horary chart. When somebody's asking a question, it's more of a yes or no answer. Is this good? Is this bad? Will this work? Will this not? When we look at natal chart interpretation about how somebody chooses to enact the placements in their chart, there's always going to be choice. There's always going to be dynamic flow. There's always going to be opportunities to say no, right? So many, many different things. We do have Mars in Capricorn retrograde, but still an exalted Mars in the 9th house. It's funny to me. It's funny to me because besides Venus, you've put Mars in his exaltation and you've put Jupiter in his home sign, but both of them are retrograde, almost as if no matter how good things get, you always tend to feel like you're being slightly held back, or you always want to do things faster than they're supposed to be done. And I think that that's a misuse of your life process, darling. It's not necessarily about getting it done quickly. It's about getting it done right. And some of that rightness requires that you slow down, that you get lost in the whimsy, that you enjoy the process. That's what Venus really wants you to do. Venus is goddess of indulgence, first and foremost. She wants you to have a good time. She wants you to enjoy the journey. But if you're so caught up in the progress, if you're so caught up in the achievement, if you're so caught up in the proving yourself, then you're not going to get pleasantly lost. You're never going to have that Alice in Wonderland moment where you end up nowhere near where you expected, but it's brilliant all the same. Yeah. I think one of the things that your chart is actually working towards is working with the disenfranchised, which is great if you're already on kind of like a mental health therapy track, because the exalted Mars is ruling your north node in the 12th house of hospitalizations, hidden enemies, karmic healing, jails, another kind of legal or kind of law enforcement tint there too, but also health and wellness. The 12th house is where we go to recover physically and mentally and emotionally. And for you to put your Mars in the 9th house of higher learning in ruling the 12th house, it's like you're here to study how people get incarcerated, how people get hurt, how people get damaged, and to help them through that process, right? There is a lot of legal energy in the chart, but there's also a lot of health and wellness. If you can blend the two, I think that would be flawless. I think that would be fabulous. And it would really make, with all this fire sign energy, it would really make your chart light up brilliantly, and a lot of pride for you to be both powerful, yeah, but also compassionate. And that's something that Venus in Libra definitely is. It's Lady Justice, who is blind but who is carrying a sword. She is infinitely compassionate, but she understands the rule of law. And there is that juxtaposition in the chart for sure. It wouldn't surprise me if your job actually takes a large amount of teaching, writing, or communication, because Mercury, the planet of the mind, is in the 3rd house of writing, teaching, communication, being ruled by the moon in the 6th house of work, health, and pets. And then we have this Pluto, so we'll wrap up with Pluto. Pluto in Scorpio in the 7th house is a really interesting formation for this chart, because it's probably the weakest area of the chart, if I'm being honest. Pluto, as god of the underworld in his home sign of Scorpio, that he secondarily rules in the 7th house of relationships, is a very underworld placement for you to choose to put in your 7th house of relationships. When we look at the myths surrounding Hades, one of the most famous is the descent of Persephone, or the rape of Persephone. And earlier in life, as that Pluto still is toxic and raw and unformed and unchanneled, there may be several relationships, especially with older individuals, where you feel like your power is taken away from you. But it is also a very Grecian type grooming situation where you are given power. Persephone is raped or descended or dragged into the underworld, but she takes her throne. She is given her power. And And that is such a beautiful experience for her to have amidst the trauma, amidst the chaos. And then she rises, but she doesn't want to leave her new home. And there is that kind of light and darkness battle with that experience. As Pluto matures around age 50, there will be a strong sense of power, and you will probably have a very powerful partner and a very strong emphasis on love and the dynamic of relationships in your life. But in the first 50 years of life, there may be some sourness, there may be some bitterness, there may be some control issues that happen in the chart. Okie dokie. Perfect. Thank you so much, Matthew, for confirming that. I appreciate it. Okay, we are on chart number 3. Hey, Stephanie on Instagram. How you doing, girl? Okay, so Mary, let's take a peek at your chart. So we've got Virgo ascendant applying to conjoin Pluto in Virgo retrograde. Really? Really? You really want to put the god of death on your ascendant and then put the ruler of your chart, Mercury in Aries, in the frickin' 8th house, the house of death. Really? That's where we're going this morning? That's what we're doing? We're just drawing the death card over and over? Sure. Why not, Mary? So when we look at your chart and this symbolism, it is very striking, especially because Mercury, one of his roles in mythology is psychopomp. The role of a god to move between the heavens and the underworld freely, right? Mercury is one of the only beings that can, in fact, move freely in between the world of the living and the world of the dead without toll. And for you to put that planet in the 8th house of death and the literal Hades archetype, Pluto, so close to your ascendant, we have some serious death themes in the chart that need to be addressed, respected, ancestor reverence, the idea of mourning, the idea of understanding your grief skills, the understanding of mediumship, the understanding of working with the spirits, all of those things, very, very important for your chart because you've stamped yourself with those energies so clearly, so plainly, like you're basically just walking around with a gravestone on your back. You have a multipass to the underworld. There's no kind of other way to say it. And you've been blessed by so many of the same gifts of the underworld, so much earth energy in the chart. Your new moon in Taurus in the 9th house of travel, foreigners, higher learning, spirituality. Your Venus in Gemini, also ruled by Mercury, also ruling your sun and moon in the 10th house. And also ruling your 2nd house of finances from the 10th, like you getting famous for your wealth, for your financial gain, for your mastery of money. You'd be an excellent financial planner, which when people think of the underworld, one of the things that they don't think about is finances. But like one of my favorite images is the Gringotts Bank in Harry Potter. Where is that bank? It's underground, right? Where is treasure buried? Underground, right? Where when we have catacombs and people like put away fortunes, and when we have the sarcophagi and things of that nature, they're locked away in tombs in the underworld. So the underworld is actually a very wealthy place, and it seems like you're channeling a lot of that wealth in your chart. Having Venus ruling your 9th house of international clientele and your 2nd house of finance from the 10th house of success, like, I mean, get over it. It's just crazy. I'm a fan though. Like, it's really cool. But yeah, it's just kind of sitting here slapping you in the face. Probably the weakest part of your chart is this Mars in Capricorn, or I'm sorry, Mars in Capricorn, goodness gracious. I forgot to have my coffee this morning. Mars in Cancer, who is actually in the sign of his fall. It's, you know, Mars as warrior archetype in the maternal, loving, compassionate sign of Cancer. It's like trying to put a Spartan in an apron. The energies just don't necessarily mix that well, baby. And you've decided to do Mars dirty in the 11th house of friendships. So one of the things that you might find rather difficult in your life is how you tend to smother your friends. You try to be the mom friend, but you are very, very much aggressive. Too helpful. Too helpful. But there is that strong mama bear energy, so you'd be the person that I'd pick to bring into a fight, for sure. But at the end of the day, you know, that Mars is being a little bit mishandled, a little bit mistreated in the 11th house of social groups, friendships, and tribes. Saturn in Capricorn retrograde is a pretty sticky placement to put in the 5th house of children. It's not a really great fertility marker. It also slows down your creativity quite a bit, but it does make for really excellent working conditions. It makes your work very ritualistic, very humdrum, very normal. But at the same time, it really does bring forward a lot of blandness to the creative cycle. One of the things that Earth is known for as an element is being extremely practical, but it's manipulating other people's resources, not its own. Fire and air are the creative elements, water as well with intuition. Earth, although it can physically create, it's normally using resources that it already has at its disposal. It's not creating things from nothing. It's just moving things around. And that's kind of what you're good at, especially with money. You know, that's part of what we see with financial stuff is when you get creative with money, it's not about getting creative with money. It's about moving numbers around, right? Which can be very boring to the rest of us. Okay. And I think that's pretty much it. We've got Pisces in the 7th on the ascendant. Where's Jupiter? Jupiter's in Scorpio in the 3rd. That's an interesting placement for both Jupiter and Scorpio. So you're naturally attracted to the deep, dark, gothy poet archetype. The problem, my dear Mary, is that you have Neptune in Scorpio retrograde here in the 3rd house as well, heavily influencing your 7th house of relationships. I would encourage you to be wary of spouses or potential mates that have addiction issues, who hit the drink a little bit too hard, who keep secrets. I know that you want very much to be in love with that dark, deep, poetic, creative type because you feel like you lack that creativity and you want somebody who's edgy, right? Who complements your earth energy with their depth and intrigue. But there's a certain level of unhealthiness that comes along when they go too deep, when they are too mysterious, when they are too dark and down that rabbit hole. You don't know what might be lingering. Yeah. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. And that'll be the last note for your chart. So thank you very much, Mary. I appreciate your donating your chart to science. Matthew, if you would like your chart read, go ahead and private message me your birth date, place, and exact birth time. I will add you to the list. The list is rather long, but I will message you when your chart is featured. That's how I'm doing it. Or if you're on TikTok and you just want your sun, moon, rising read, definitely feel free to go there. Although one of my posts went viral. I think it has over 17,000 views right now and 3,000 comments. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, if you want your chart read like this, just private message me and I'll add you to the list. Okay, we are on chart number 4. Chart number 4 is Element. Oh, God. Oh, God, what is this? What is this Virgo-ness? What is this Virgo stellium in my face? Oh, my God. And a Scorpio moon? Get over it. Holy crap. Holy crap. Oh, my God. So spicy, this chart. So spicy. Okay. Whew. Goodness. Virgo stellium. So we have North Node in Virgo, Jupiter in Virgo, conjoined freaking Mars in Virgo, Ascendant in Virgo, and Saturn in Virgo, all in this first house. Absolutely ridiculous. So as a medical astrologer, as somebody who specializes in the body, who understands kind of the medical treatment of the stars, one of the things that you need to be aware of, you absolutely need to be aware of, my dear, is the small intestine and the liver, right? Because you have both malefics, Mars and Jupiter, or Mars and Saturn, as well as Jupiter, the inflammatory planet, the planet that bloats and swells everything, in the sign of the liver and the small intestine. Your absorption, as well as your blood sugar, your filtration, your sensitivity to foods and medications, and really anything that you put into your body is huge. It's massive. Absolutely massive. If you are not 110% in control of your diet at any given time, health issues, anxiety issues, skin issues, calf spasms, all the Aquarius stuff in the 6th house, like that's going to be the problem. It might even put you in the hospital with eye issues, heart issues, spine issues, palpitations, weird things. But it's all related to diet. Yeah, it's all food. Food is your medicine, right? And, you know, I really do like the North Node here to complement these lessons, because you've stacked so much in the first house of self and the first house of the body. You're really here to learn those very physical lessons. What do humans need to do every single day? Otherwise they die. Eat, drink, sustenance, right? It is one of our most basic human functions. We also need to poop on a regular basis. Some people are just angry because they haven't had a bowel movement, right? And I think that that's really, really important for you to understand, is some of the most basic human needs and some of the biggest factors of whether or not you feel good, right, are going to be digestive related, are going to be food related, are going to be just 100% dictated on whether or not you can nail down your ADLs, which is a physical therapy term for activities of daily living, right? So that's probably the biggest thing in your chart that I need to warn you about, and also make you understand, because it's huge, it's massive for you, that lesson. Now, the ruler of your chart is Mercury, and Mercury is down in the 4th house of family. So that's going to be a really important part of your life, is home and family. Neptune in Sagittarius is here. So is your sun in Sagittarius. So we got some spunky party energy in the 4th house of family. Super fun. But also, whenever I see Neptune in Sagittarius in the 4th house, you know, we need to be aware of sweeping things under the rug. And we need to be aware of, like, it always reminds me of that scene from Practical Magic, the Midnight Margaritas. Like, it's fine to have fun, and it's fine to have a party, and it's fine to have chocolate cake for breakfast. But it's another thing to ignore all of the problems, yeah, and to ignore what needs to be done in order to have, like, fun procrastination and escapism. Yeah, so that's just something else to kind of be in mind of. Very interesting, your Venus ruling Pluto and Libra in the 2nd house of finance from the 5th house of children. You'll actually earn quite a good bit of money working with children as a parent, and potentially creative endeavors. There is a good marker for entrepreneurship in the chart as well. So if you don't already have, like, a side business as an Etsy store, like, that would be pretty good for you. There are workaholic tendencies in the chart. That's fine. Another thing to be aware of is when we throw ourselves into our work, one of the first things to be sacrificed is often the lunch breaks. Yeah. I can't tell you how many clients come in to see me with chronic pain, and I'm like, so talk to me about breakfast, lunch, dinner. And they're like, well, I normally skip breakfast, and sometimes I work so hard that I don't eat, and then I have this massive dinner and, you know, all of the things that I need to regain my calories, and the body just absolutely hates that. Absolutely hates that. Because that's when we start to energetically roller coaster. Because our body doesn't know when the next fuel injection is going to be. So it hoards, it conserves, it drains, it crashes, all that jazz. And then on top of that, you've got this really reclusive moon in Scorpio in the third house. Like, the very last thing you want to do is talk about your feelings. Very last thing, right? It is arguably, besides the dietary stuff, the most important thing that you need to do. The moon is in her fall in Scorpio for a reason, or her detriment in Scorpio, opposing her natural exaltation in Taurus. Scorpio is the sign of all things hidden, and when we hide our emotions, they fester. You're so good at pushing your emotions down that you forget that they're there in the first place, and that can be really dangerous, my love. So I would induce emotional vomiting on a regular basis by keeping a stock up on sappy movies that you pop in at least once a month, preferably around a new moon, to purge and to cry and to allow those tides to be drained. Yeah, and any festering creatures to kind of be bubbled up and sorted out. Okay, that's pretty much the crux of your chart. Okay. Hello, Liz, my darling. How are you? We've got one more chart to focus on. And our chart is going to be Amanda. Good morning, Amanda. How are you? Oh, that's fun. Ascendant conjoined Sun in Scorpio, double Scorpio. With the moon in Pisces, a triple water sign. Oh, that's where it gets not fun. That's where it gets not fun. Oh, that's interesting, though. Oh, that's interesting, though. Oh, God. Oh, God, Amanda, what have you done? So fascinating. So fascinate. Oh, my God. Interesting, interesting, interesting. My, I bet you monsters lead such interesting lives. I said to my girlfriend just the other day, I said, my, I bet monsters are interesting. I'm not calling you a monster, Amanda. It's the scene that popped into my head because you've got that strong Scorpio energy, ruler of the chart, conjoined Pluto. So sensitive, so sensitive. It just reminds me of that scene from Bugs Bunny so much. God, so interesting. Okay, let's unpack this chart slow. So having double Scorpio, you're not just a sun Scorpio, you're an ascendant Scorpio. So your two major aspects of personality have Scorpio stamped on them. Really research that sign. Really research that sign. Scorpio is fixed water. It is literally ice. Yeah? Ice for a reason. You know, it is defensive, it is hard, it is protective, but it is because it is so soft and squishy and sensitive that it needs to be so hard and deep and dark and reclusive and protective. It is also that underworld energy. It is what makes you so interested in things that are gothic and faux pas in nature and secretive, right? It's what makes you want to get to the bottom of things. And where do you want to get to the bottom of things? You want to get to the bottom of the things in the 11th house of friendships, of social groups, of society, of social media. You know, the idea of these documentaries coming out on Netflix exposing the secrets of social media, you're probably just lapping all of that up, all of that underbelly, deep, dark dirt. Like, that's all you, 100%. So one of the other things that we talked about in a chart, two charts back, was being blessed by the underworld. And we kind of need to talk about this with you too, because your ruler, Mars, in Virgo, up in the 11th house of friendships and social groups and tribes, is applying to conjoin Pluto, god of the underworld, right? And you have Scorpio on the ascendant, yeah, which is secondarily ruled by Pluto and firstly ruled by Mars, and they are conjoining in the 11th house. Like, you literally make friends with demons for a living. Like, that's such your energy. Um, and not demons in a bad way, but just the idea of like anything that is dark and secretive and interesting and monster-esque, like you want it. You want it in your life because it's fascinating and it's powerful. You know, Mars and Pluto really do deal with concepts of true power, what it means to be strong, what it means to literally hold down the foundation. Both Mars as the warrior god who protects the fields from both famine and war, and Pluto, the literal god of the soil and everything that supports the soil underneath the bedrock of society, often where the secrets are kept, right? So all of that energy in your chart is just so deep and so dark and so rich and so wonderful, right? It's beautiful. And then we have this super sensitive Pisces moon in the 5th house of children. You know, kids are always going to be a soft spot for you. Always going to be a soft spot for you. You will also be a total pushover parent. So boundaries are going to need to be a thing. If you decide to have children, you're going to need to work on your boundaries because you will be the pushover parent with that mutable water energy. Crying at the drop of a hat when your kids don't like you, but that's part of the issue of being a parent is sometimes they're going to love you and sometimes they're not. And that blind compassion isn't always a good thing. You know, you are forming the lives of children, not just being their buddy, not just being their friend, not just having them as kind of emotional support animals, which is tough to say. But you're a Scorpio ascendant, you get it. You know, seeing through to the heart of the issue is part of that gift. Pisces moon in the 5th also makes you like super duper creative, like really creative. And I enjoy that energy. I also enjoy the idea of that moon in Pisces ruled by Jupiter in the 11th house. It again brings that social house into the dynamic. So that's fun. Work is probably the weakest spot for you. Because again, you want to be boots on the ground, you want to be social, you want to be out in the community doing the thing, not in the office behind a desk. Saturn in Aries retrograde is probably one of the worst, is the worst place that we could put a Saturn. In his least favorite sign, opposes exaltation in Libra, and retrograde going backwards. It is a terrible Saturn. Work, health, pets, going to be very not so much an easy space for you. But we can remediate that through the 11th house of friendships. We can remediate that through community work, as opposed to you getting stuck behind a desk all day. And your Mars is here, so learning the health component, learning how to be of service, all those things are going to be just really, really important down the line. Yeah, I think that's it. The chart has gone cold for me. Yep. Okay, Amanda. If you have any other questions, we can always kind of talk about it one-on-one if you would like to schedule a session. Okay. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So we are officially done with the live stream, but I will pick this back up on Wednesday morning. If you would like to submit your chart to the live stream, feel free to private message me your birth date, birthplace, and exact birth time. I will add you to the list. Every live stream is recorded on my YouTube channel. So if you would like to watch previous live streams, if you want to learn more astrology stuff, you can always go to the YouTube channel. Just search ScorpioRisingAstrology.com. My channel will pop up. I am a professional astrologer, so if you would like to book an appointment for a consultation, or if you would like to learn astrology through some of the online classes I have, just go to ScorpioRisingAstrology.com. We'll get you all hooked up that way. And yeah, we do these live streams. It's always a good time. We always have fun. And follow me on Facebook, Instagram for my daily forecasts and horoscopes. So yeah, that's it. Thank you, everybody. We will see you on Wednesday. And in the meantime, may the stars be ever in your favor.